And we're off to the races, I normally say. Guys, I am beyond excited. Another wonderful show today. I'm about to embark on such a great journey. No doubt, this person, obviously a friend of a friend that spoke highly of me and our little podcast. And so she made it a point to carve out, a small little sliver of her time to jump on. So which I'm completely beyond thrilled to experience this whole show. Today's guest is a true force of nature. She's an award-winning actress, a professional geologist. How about that? And a YouTuber, content creator, and she's a ranch badass, right? She lived in a ranch. She grew up in a ranch, and she rides horses. And guess what? She can also she can shoot a 50 caliber. She can shoot guns, and it's fantastic because that's what you need to learn for movies. Remember that, guys. She wears a lot of hats. We're gonna find out. We're gonna try to peel back at the layers to find out what's up with the one and only. Help me, guys, bring to the stage the one and only Elley Ringo.
Thank you so much, Jim, for having me on. That is like quite the title to. Oh my gosh, I feel intimidated.
No, you shouldn't. I'm the one that's intimidated because your schooling is to get a degree in geology is like wow, and to know how the world works, the tectonic plates, as it were, and all these wonderful things, and for you to be involved with the wild and animal rescues and that kind of thing, it's dear to all of us. So you kind of it's unreal, but you sort of kind of blanket this whole thing like there's a lot of hats that you wear, and we want to know where it all started because I know you started back at the ranch. But the one thing I want to say that that education is the biggest equalizer. You start off with the same foundation, provided that it's not like an Ivy League school, per se. Everyone goes through a teacher, including presidents.
Yep.
So and so without further ado, I really want to dive right into it. And thank you again for being so gracious to come on the Almost Famous Radio Podcast Show with yours truly, Jim Francis. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I did get, I guess, started kind of what I was doing very young. Like going back to the shooting stuff, when I was 10, my dad was like, you need to make sure that in case there's critters or in case there's anybody out there, if anybody was to ever break in, like you need to know how to use a rifle. And, it was just a little 22 long rifle, but still it was, it was gun safety. It was knowing what to do with it. And then of course that progressed into learning a lot about other different types of firearms, which actually has helped me in different films and, just a commercial aspect in general, because there are a lot of females that are really proficient with guns. But I would say that on the realm of the things that I do, I've watched people pick up a gun and they're like shaking or they don't know how to handle it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, and you're going to
one of them.
We're going to act in a movie with this? This is going to be bad. So it was fun at a young age, I would say. I've never hurt anybody. I've never been a hunter. I don't do anything like that. It was strictly just for self-defense or if anything was to happen. And so
on the contrary, more to your point, you save animals. You were part of helping the animals, so feed them.
Yes.
So
and it was like my mom, she taught me how to ride a horse, but I was riding a horse before I could walk. And I have pictures to prove it even. And it was really cool. And we needed to get around because if you're on a lot of acres, walking takes forever. We didn't have like a buggy to get into or like a side-by-side or a four-wheeler like they have. I would say more modern ranchers. We'd get on a horse and we'd drive, run across the property and see what was going on. And so that was really helpful with just a skill. And I did all kinds of stuff with that. I went into play days. I went into like barrel racing and team penning, Western pleasure, English, dressage, that kind of a thing. And I competed, as a young kid going into my teens in all of that. And then it just kind of grew with me. And I still continue to ride horses to this day. I don't own any, unfortunately, but I have friends that do and family that do so that I can go, ride when I'm like, oh, I really need to get on a horse. So let's do this. So and that part's fun. But the rescuing of the animals came in also very early. My parents loved exotic animals, exotic cats. And so they went and got their first exotic animal that had, been a little bit abused. They weren't exactly sure what was going to happen, and we
Fun.
brought it home. And
I see it in the back. I see the
right from there.
apparatus for the cats.
Those are house cats. Those are, at least those are small ones. But I have had a wonderful experience of being able to, raise baby tigers and,
Right.
swim with tigers and have that love from a big cat that I don't think most people know what that's like. And it is just a joy. And I've had two just wonderful babies. Unfortunately, they've passed on, but they were there. They were my rescue kitties. And, I
Yeah.
had them for 18 years, and they were wonderful and very special. And, it's not anything like creepy or scary like the
Yeah.
Tiger King or anything like that. Like, that guy's nuts. That is a whole nother story to talk about. Like, meeting that person. Nope. You saw those marbles were not connected, right? So no, thank you. But for the normal people in the industry like
Yeah.
that, it was a lot of fun. It was a kind of
That was
small world.
the Tiger King is a 3-ring circus, and unfortunately, because a lot, animals were harmed as a result,
Yes.
and people, and it was tragic. It's like
Mm-hmm.
a ball of fire going, what I mean, coming at you
Oh yeah.
100 miles at a time, and yeah, it's no fun, and it's crazy. Our industry side, dark side of it, that people will watch that and really enjoy it. I remember
Mm-hmm.
watching some of it and thinking, I don't know, it's not for me, but
I never watched
that's
it
something.
just
Yeah,
because I'd
yeah.
already met the person and all of the people
Oh,
that they talked about. The
yeah.
community's small. I knew every one of them. I'm like,
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So how was that introduction like with him, with the guy? I can't remember his name,
He
real
what
name.
was he dropping? Honestly don't remember if he was dropping something off or picking something up. But I
Uh-huh.
remember this was around like um '02, I think.
Yeah.
That's when I had met him. Um, and he was just bizarre. There's no real way to describe him. He could not keep like track. Like, he couldn't speak a sentence without going off in like 50 different directions. You're like, are you okay to drive? Sort of a
Uh,
situation.
it's
No,
ADHD on steroids.
he was just nuts.
Yeah.
But I mean, for whatever it was that he went through, I don't like wish any harm or ill will to him in
No.
any way,
Nobody.
shape, or form. He was just off.
He was
And
different.
as a teen, like going, I think I'm gonna walk and you guys have fun, sort of a situation. I met the guy, shook his hand, observed from a different cage, fed something, watered some. I was like, I'm gonna leave you guys to whatever
That's
you're doing.
funny.
And so
That's
it was
so
fun though.
funny.
And all those other realms of people were just interesting. But I would say that for life experience, it was great, right? And it
Yeah.
was a whole nother animal, pun intended, I guess.
I like that. Metaphorically, allegorically, but also almost quite literally, right? 'Cause it's just not a
Yes,
good
extreme.
person. I'm sorry, I could say I'm the one that said it, not you, Ellie. Not a good dude. Um, hey, Frog, I think he's in jail, but I don't know what that was about because I didn't watch. I didn't read about it either. I didn't care for it.
Oh,
Um,
that's okay.
it was probably had to do with hurting animals and stuff for sure.
No, it's because he hired somebody to kill somebody else,
Oh,
and
that's right.
it didn't work out so well. And
It
I'm gonna keep.
backfired.
Yeah, it backfired a little bit. I wish it hadn't backfired, but
Yeah.
oh well.
Yeah, I love it. So spending time in a farm, what's that like? Let's start with that, and then I'll ask a little more. You can also answer that while you're at it. The imagination, so
Yeah.
that it helped you kind of spur a lot of ideas that then you were able to bring to cinema, as it were.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I um like being on I would say like a farm or big old ranch, big, we didn't run cattle. It wasn't that type
Okay,
of ranching.
okay,
It
I see
was,
what you mean. Okay,
but we had
let's make that
horses, we
clear.
had, big arenas, we had big play days. So we're more focused on the horse side of things and
Right.
exotic animals. And
Yeah.
actually they cohabitate like quite well. Like
Really?
oh yeah, they can smell each other and not freak out. Like the horses didn't spook because we'd have horse corrals right up next to where the tiger cages were. And people have such a misconception that
That's what
there
I
are these
have.
big dangerous things that are gonna eat the animals and the horses are scared. It's like, well, once the horse smells it enough and understands that, well, I see it through the cage, it's not going to come get me, everything's fine.
Get
And the
it.
cat could care less. They're so lazy. They, oh my gosh, they want to eat, they want to sleep all day, and if they're a tiger they want to go swimming and then they want to sleep again. That's
I
it.
didn't know this. I know nothing about tigers, believe it or not, Ellie. So I'm learning a lot.
Oh
It's
no, it's
quite a
okay.
treat.
Yeah, they're
More than one way, it's a treat to have you on because you know quite a bit.
well, I mean, I had to learn quick. I mean, I was raising tiger cubs from a young age, but even the big ones, like they, as long as you feed them and you treat them with respect, you don't hurt them, because we were rehabilitating kitties. We were rehabilitating cats that we had gotten from circuses that were like highly abused, like
Right.
that were whipped and beaten so much so, like if you went to raise your hand to put something up, they'd cower down, and it was so
Oh
sad. But
no.
eventually they got over it,
Good.
because they realized they weren't going to get hit or beat or attacked, and
Love.
they were just there to be loved and fed, and that's what a rescue is. And so most of
Yes.
them, they went there for a forever home. Some of them that we were able to rehabilitate so much so that we were able to give them to other programs, either like overseas or breeding programs to diversify so that you don't get
Yeah.
inbreeding and that kind of thing. And
Get
so
it.
that part was really cool, but it was more just loving them, and yeah.
Also, just for them
So
to be more to reproduce of sorts, like for them to be to go in another environment to meet other kitties, that kind
yeah,
of thing. Good.
yeah. And so and we were thrilled when that happened, and we could, kind of make a successful match in different areas, which was awesome. But that's, that kind of thing just, I would say, helped bring me up as a young adult pretty quick. I took on a lot of
Yeah.
responsibility, which allowed me to have also a lot of free time to imagine all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
When,
You're getting
when
into trouble, but like just fun children kind of thing, like what you do
oh
with
yeah.
this.
Like, I mean,
this-
I would build forts right up next to the cat cages, and I'd pretend I
Wow.
was in the woods or the forest, or in my
Love
own
it.
little world with my pet tiger and that kind of thing. So I
You're
loved
kind
it.
of
It was a
you're
blast.
setting the sort of the it was like a crescendo leading up to acting, which we're gonna
Yeah.
get to right now. Real quick, so what were you feeding were you feeding the animals at times, and if so, like what do they eat per se? Like what does that look like?
So any cat, depending on its size, let's take like a 400 to 500 pound tiger, is
Yeah.
going to eat about 8 to 10 pounds of meat a day, and so that's
Mhm.
going to be beef, chicken, turkey. Um, Primarily with the cats, we tried to stay away from pork just because it can carry a lot of worms, and the cats are very susceptible to worms.
Right.
But much like a house cat, they get the same shots. Like they get their vaccinations, they get rabies shots.
Yeah.
They can even, unfortunately, you have to be very careful because they can get a version of like a feline canine distemper, and that can kill a cat just like distemper can kill a dog. And so vaccinations in exotic animals are extremely important, and
Mhm.
just making sure like their overall health, like, but they eat a lot of meat every day, and so you have to make sure that that's cut up. Or, I mean, as a kid, I would help go get roadkill because we had a permit to actually go get roadkill off the road. You cut it up and give it to the cats. It was one of their favorite things ever. Um,
You hit the mailman. All right, let's get him in.
well, okay, so a
Okay,
lot of
good.
people don't know this, but like I've been bit, by several different tigers because of my own fault for doing
Right.
something stupid. I was never like attacked, nothing like that. It was just a quick movement. Something was having a bad day, just something silly or stupid.
Sure. Sure.
But if they taste human blood, they're like, "What? I hate it." They're freaking out. Like they try to get it off their tongue because our blood is very sweet to them. Like very, very sweet. They like gamey, meaty sort of things. Like if
Yes.
they
Yes.
do taste you, they're like, "Oh no, I don't want that." And
Let's
so like
type
when they
negative blood.
can't handle this, it's not juicy enough. It's not salty. I have no idea what the difference is, but in talking to veterinarians that knew kind of a lot about it, cats are not
Yes.
attracted to sweet things primarily. Although we did have a
Okay.
tiger that would eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches,
Oh
and he
my
was
God, I
adorable.
love that.
Oh
That's
yeah,
so
you could
sweet.
share your lunch with him, and he'd eat little nibbles of it. It was really cute.
It's my favorite sandwich. I love peanut butter and jelly. I mean, who doesn't, right? Any American
I
does.
know.
Um, at age 7, you started dabbling in it was like your first play at school. Was
Mhm.
that what's that like? Tell me.
Okay,
Bring me
so
into that whole headspace.
we I had no idea how I was going to feel about this, and I was so nervous. Like I was so nervous as a kid, and but I was also I was taller than everybody else, and so I'd look down at everyone, and
You and I,
is
six
you know
four
how
and
it
a half.
feels.
Yep.
And I remember very specifically, I had this random shirt on. I still have a picture somewhere of me holding my little script, and I'm like looking over my shoulder at whoever's taking the picture, and I had this little like yellow with white polka dot little like skirt thing wrapped around whatever I had on, and I'm sitting there and holding my script, and like the audience was laughing while I talked.
Love it.
And everybody was holding their script. Nobody was, it was just a little school play. And I thought, this is really cool. This is a blast. Like, can I do more of this? So I
Yes.
started to get into plays, more at church and that kind of thing at first, like little skits and stuff like Christmas plays
Sure.
and
Yeah.
Thanksgiving and stuff like that. And
Wise man and all that. Yeah. Like
yeah,
playing.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah. Was
you'd
it a
always
Christian
did like
church? Catholic?
what?
It's Christian
We
or
were
Catholic?
Christian church.
Okay.
Christian, yeah.
So there's a
And
lot of skits that happen around Christmas time. I know that.
tons of them. And I was in every one. And so I started to sing in church, and I started to, do all of that stuff with the plays. And so then other people were nabbing me to be in their church plays that I had nothing to do with, a completely different
Beautiful.
denomination, just so that I would be in their
Fantastic.
plays.
Right.
I was like, yes, this is cool. And I think I was like 12 or 13 when that started going on. I thought it was
Elley,
wonderful.
Ali, before you continue, I just want to jump in real quick and say, you and I had, so many parallels. I've dabbled in acting, not as much as you have for obvious reasons. You're award winning and done a bunch of plays. But I had the luck also. Like you go to church and then you get to be in a play, and then you think a lot of that was. I mean, I say speaking for one from the tribe, almost because we're also the tall people. Um,
Uh-huh.
you know, height had something to do with it because not only were you showcasing your talents, but then they stood out more
Oh, yeah,
because
exactly.
right? I mean, that was it happened, but I never really admit it. Like I'm talking to another tall person, so I can tell you that, and we're kind of thing. But when you talk to somebody else, it's like, oh, now you look haughty and your head so big, any kind of thing, and now you're like trying to sound like you're pompous and no, but I think it has something to do with that. And so continue on. This is very interesting. So you go to different churches.
Oh, yeah. So I did that for a little while, and then through life and whatnot, ended up moving to different places with my folks, and I'd always try to gravitate towards something. It was a lot easier to be able to go sing something than it was to get in a play or organization, especially if you didn't live there for too long. And so ended up moving like 4 or 5 times with my folks before going into an area where I started to do like some actual like filming, like with real films. And the very, very first like actual film that had like a production and a budget and people and extras and that kind of thing was a movie called Conversations with God. And it, a religious based film. And I
Beautiful.
was, an extra. I was a featured extra. I was one of their drivers. Like I showed up and they just put me into different things. I was like, this is great. This is so cool. And it was right my, local to my town. And I was fascinated by it. So then I started to get into a couple of other things there in Oregon to like help with the filming, and met a small group, was in a couple of their very low budget horror films. I look back at them now going, oh my gosh.
My favorite.
Oh, like,
Now we're all right,
wow,
okay.
it was, yeah, it was interesting. And
Yeah, here, Ali, let's continue. Let's really shine a little light on that real quick. If we made a little sidebar, um, I used to be a limo driver for many years. Right, drove a lot of famous people. You see the little house, the little car in the corner. That was the
uh-huh,
old model. Remember the old model limo?
uh-huh,
So among the folks, the luminaries that drove, I drove Robert Englund, and Robert Englund plays Freddy Krueger. So believe it or not, I talk a lot. Well, he talked my ear off. We were like in the car for a whole hour and a half or two because he lived in Laguna back then. And it was interesting because he was a surfer. He's telling me a bunch of stuff. But among those things, real quick and get to the meat of it and meat and potatoes of it, is we're talking about how Halloween was made. And do you know that he was an extra for Halloween, for the movie Halloween with John Carpenter? It was John Carpenter? Yeah.
really?
Yeah,
No.
and the thing is that they collected all the leaves because that's how short of a shoestring budget they had to work with. In Pasadena, in South Pasadena. That's where the house is, and it looks like freaking the movie. Like you walk through the streets at night, you're like, wow, it's like Halloween. Just get
Yep.
that feel to it. But
Yeah.
he's telling me that's what they did. They picked them up, and then you feel the rustling of the leaves and stuff. Then they drop them out. They drop the leaves again for the second take and the third take. Then you watch the very first Halloween. Okay, watch it
Mhm.
next to your husband or your boyfriend, whoever. You watch it, and just because it's so scary, right? Like when you watch it at night, I still get scared. I watch it 100 times, and I know what's gonna happen to him, but I'm like, oh my god, I'm so biting my it's a nail biter. You can watch how the editing is poorly done. You notice that about films? Because you're a good actor, right
Oh
away.
yeah.
He appears like he goes through one place, and the next thing you know, he's somewhere else, and you're like, there's no continuity. So
Oh,
that
art
that
director was
was done
not
pretty
available.
cheaply. That was pretty cheaply done. I mean, if you think about it, everyone realize you look at the newer ones, yeah, the story got lost, but
Oh
that's
yeah.
irrelevant. It's now it's a money grab. So you keep making the movies, and you want to see your favorite character, you want to see the lady come back. Bless her heart, she's fantastic. The babysitter, and you watch these movies, and you can't help but see how the progression of where it started and where it's come to, it's ended. Like, wow, the editing, the money involved, it's so different. And granted, that was a 1981 movie,
Yeah.
1980, okay. But that's what I like about those movies, the grittiness. That's on the gritty side.
Then you
That
would
the
have liked
movie,
this group.
yeah, I would have. Because you don't have to have A-listers. Think about that. If make a movie with A-listers and it's a horror flick, you're paying to watch the A-listers, right?
Uh-huh.
If you make a movie like remember the Friday 13th, I had a couple friends in that movie, and they were like part of the couples that would go make out. Remember the original
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Crystal Lake? Those type of films, I don't think they had really that many famous people in it, and that's what I loved about it.
No.
It's just not about that. You just want to see the people get slashed and killed every which way. That's all I care
Yes,
about. I'll be
that's
honest with you.
that's what a horror film is generally about. Yeah, you're just
Right.
waiting to see the next creative death or whatever. I have the hardest time watching the horror films because I'm like, ugh, no,
Yeah.
no. Like for me, I've been in a fair amount of them, but like, oh, I hate dying. I hate doing the dying
Yeah.
thing. I hate the fake blood, but I don't
Okay.
like rewatching it because I get scared easily.
Really?
Uh-huh. Yep. So I'm
So
like, ugh, no.
now, how eerie is it? Like when they say you're gonna die in the film, did you feel like the first time? Oh, wait a minute, I don't want to be the person who gets killed. Or
Well, in let me see. It was the very first horror film I was in. Like I was like a babysitter and I was strangled to death. And so they're doing a thing and they're like, okay, now you have to lay there with your eyes open and don't blink. And so you're like, oh my gosh, how long can I actually sit here and do this and not blink? And
that's
I remember they kept doing it because they wanted to go from where the blood was like running down my arm all the way up to my face. And by the time they got to my face, like I was
yeah.
blinking. And so it was one of those things where it was like a timing or somebody finally clued in to
Right.
like, okay, don't blink now. But it was, again, shoestring. It was cool.
Yeah.
I loved working with Dan, I believe was the name of the director in Oregon.
That's
And he was a cool guy. I have no idea where he's at now, no idea what he's doing, but
that's the
it was a,
beauty of making films and
it was a
stuff.
fun thing.
People go on different trajectories. Sometimes you're like your favorite guy. I wonder what he's up to now. Sometimes they
Yeah.
continue. Sometimes they find other great deals. Now, how did you did your mom at some point thought, okay, your dad and your mom say, wait a minute, honey, you can't possibly think you're gonna carve out a name in Tinseltown, or how did the whole thing about going to college and getting a degree in geology? You do
Ooh.
have a master's in it, right? How did that whole thing come about?
So that is definitely we will try to succinct this topic as best we can. So I'm the first person in my family to ever graduate college. My parents have been, thank you. They've done their vocations. My dad was an awesome contractor. My mom has been into the animals and that kind of a thing. But
Mhm.
no, neither, I guess, parent. I think at one point in time I was like, oh, I'm going to go be a doctor or a lawyer. Like I always had really big,
Right.
like I'm going to go be something that like does something,
Mhm.
makes money. You have to be smart to do sort of a deal. And so the geology was actually very much by accident. However, like when I was a kid, my dad would take me to the beach. I would look for agates. I would collect rocks, and I would be the kid that was pulling their pants up walking off the beach because they were falling off because the amount of rocks I had stuck in my pockets. And that was me. And that was all the time. I was fascinated by them. I wanted to know like what they were and what they were made out of and why they
Hence,
looked that way.
Elley Rock, right? Elley Rocks or something. You have like
Elley knows rocks.
Elley knows
Yeah.
rocks. Yeah.
And I was enamored. But I was never anything that I was like, they're rocks. What are you going to do? Study rocks? You know, that was not a thing. And it was actually, I was in community theater in California, and I was doing a bunch of stuff with this group, and we would do like these little off-Broadway plays, and you know, awesome. we pull stuff, we do a bunch of things like that, and it was great, but I didn't like where I was working. It sucked. So I was like, I just need a vacation. So I went on a little mini vacation to actually go look for opals in Nevada. And I was like, this is so cool. And I picked up and I was digging through this giant hill, and it started to rain, and then it started to hail, and I didn't want to leave. And so I was like, no. And I was covered from head to toe in mud, and I was having a great time. Right. And sure. I remember going back home and just thinking, wow, I could do that. Like I could look for those opals. Maybe I should just own a mine, or maybe I should do something. I had no idea. So I Googled how to look for rocks for a living. That was it. Because I didn't know what geology was. I had no clue. I worked at a bank, and it said geology, and then it said archaeology. And I was like, oh, I could be like Laura Croft or Indiana Jones. Not exactly on the same track, but that's where my mind went. And so immediately I just was like, I'm going to go see if I can sign up to go to college. And so a few weeks later, I quit my job. I dove headfirst into college. And then 3.5 years later, I, graduated with my degree. And because there was no like taking a couple credits here and there. It was, I never left school, never. And I was determined to get it done quickly just because there was no point in dragging it out. I already knew what I was going to do. And my professors were very, I guess, encouraging for the fact that I was so driven to do what I was going to do no matter what. And I was like, I'm going to be a geologist. But they also knew that like I was a creative. And so I did the theater while I was in college and that kind of stuff. But it wasn't in college. It was always these little offshoots of, communities that would do the theaters. And, they loved me. And that's where, I ended up winning a lot of awards for theater and stuff like that, which I was really thrilled with. And you did everything. So you sang, you danced, you did your stuff. Yeah. I created my own costumes, all of the above. And
wow, you created your own costumes as well?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So it, because most of the time, some of the stuff was smaller, but if you wanted an elaborate costume, if you wanted to look the part, then you either put something into it or you spend a lot of money to do it. And I've always been great at thrifting and figuring that out.
That kills the creativity factor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of how like that ended up. And so, yeah, I graduated, and I knew that I was going to get some kind of a job within a geology field. Mining is one of the highest paying areas where a geologist can go into. And I always had a lot of offers from places. And so I went to work for a company that was both a blessing and a curse. And, by the time I left that company, my exit was like a mic drop. It was like, peace out. I'm gone because you guys don't appreciate me. And then I left to go to Greenland for 3 months to film a TV series to be on national TV and, at the same time. So I was like, bye. I don't care.
You shot out of there like Desperado, huh?
Oh, hell yeah. I was gone. I was riding off to the sunset, and they're like, wait, what just happened?
Right to the white horse.
That's right. Like a white plane. But, and it worked. But during like how the Elley Knows Rocks thing happened, right during COVID, of course, you were sent home to work from home. And that's how I was working with my job. And I was also, I couldn't figure out what to do. I realized that I could get so much work done at home that would usually take me 10 hours at work, and I could get it done at like 4 hours. But then I was like, I have the rest of the day to I don't know what to do. So then I started TikTok and YouTube and that kind of thing. And, started dabbling in that. And that's how Elley Knows Rocks was, developed. Yeah. And I was having so much fun with it. And that's how I got seen to be on a TV show where I went to Greenland for 3 months.
Wow.
And with that happening, I was able to, I would say, audition or snag a couple films where I was like, okay, now I'm folding back into like doing acting full time. This was 2020. And I was like, if anything happens, if I lose my job or whatever, I'm going to go into this no matter what. But then not being able to get a leave of absence from work, because that was my plan originally, was like, I'll keep doing acting on the side. I'll still have my very good paying job. Won't have to worry about it. And then I can go do these things. But they're like, yeah, we don't want to give you one. And that's when I was like, okay, I have no backup plan. There is no plan B. And I haven't had a plan B for the past 6 years. This is it. I am an actress. I am a YouTuber. This is what I do. And then on the side, I do like independent geologic consulting where people will have me out to their mines. And I look at all kinds of stuff for them. But then they're like, but aren't you an actress? I was like, yeah. They're like, yeah, because you don't look like a geologist. I was like, I promise I am one. But then I go out and I tell them things and they're like, oh, crap. You do know what you're talking about. It's like, yeah.
That's beautiful. Wow. And then you became I think a lot of people, like my first podcast was Juicy Divas, hence why one of the tabs says Juicy Divas Confessions of a Limo Driver. I started that by sheer coincidence also. Like it was during the pandemic and we lived in a smaller condo or apartment. I'll just leave it apartment. Shouldn't say condo. And it was a smaller place, smaller space, and I lived in and my son had to do his homework, so I had to be in the closet literally shooting stuff and but I did audio only, which was my saving grace, because if I would have came out, like where would I, there'd be people running in the back and stuff. I mean, the place is small. And then what happened was that's where Juicy Divas Confessions of a Limo Driver was born. And then I decided I did another one, a Jim and Jay's Morning Podcast. And I also did it was interesting. You said we talked about rocks because I did Stones of Hope, and I once went to a place at the beach or somewhere, and then it was a stone and it said, "Be the best version of yourself," and it was on the floor, like in the sand. So I started.
Someone painted it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I decided I wanted to do one. I would start doing something like that around the neighborhood in the valley, because I live in San Fernando Valley. So we're putting up stuff in like I leave them all these places, and then sometimes I add a couple dollars. So when somebody found something, they're walking, because a lot of people doing their walks because you get tired of being holed up in your room, in your house.
Yeah.
So you want to come out there, and even though everything looked kind of dismal and dark, and it was a pretty dark period of our lives, yet we could still find that silver lining, if you will. And hence why the little rock skin. So I would add different affirmations and whatnot, put a little bit of money and plant them in different places. And this came about through the pandemic. And through the pandemic, I really started taking off with just doing full-time podcasts. Before that, I did a little radio in Orange County. But it's amazing, right? Our creative juices were really flowing, because look at you. You've done quite an array of things, and I'm very accomplished, and I'm very blessed to know you now. It's awesome. It's very inspiring, your life journey.
I appreciate that. I'll keep going, that's for sure. I mean, there's no stop, there's no end. If I'm not acting, I am editing a YouTube video to throw up there, and those take forever.
I subscribe to you, but you haven't subscribed to mine.
Oh, I'm horrible. I have to do that. I usually end up doing that. It's just one of those things where I'm like, and I will get distracted. I'll get on for a certain reason, and then whoop, I'm like, crap.
Well, you got 5 million things happening all at once.
I do.
Let me ask you, in terms of like your to date, what has been like the most challenging character to date that you've had to flesh out, as it were, and then what do you see yourself playing in the future that's challenging to you because it's something you haven't delved into yet?
Well, one of the most challenging characters I've had so far was playing Acacia. I haven't seen the film yet. Principal photography's done. It's waiting on editing and sound and that kind of thing. And the film is the Case of Acacia Thatcher, and she's got these major mental issues where she believes all of these voices in her head, and they manifest themselves into people that she talks to, and
Oh,
that she
wow.
believes are real, but really she's in a mental institution and she's talking to these characters that are there with her, that are not who she thinks they are. And it's just, it's disturbing,
Yeah.
but you have to, I would say, channel very like dark things, or, dark places to get into a headspace where it's not you. My friends will watch movies and they're like, "Oh, that's not who you are." I was like, "Well, then I did a good job."
I set out to accomplish just that. So
Yes,
that's
I am
actually
not me right
favorable.
now. I am that character.
Hello,
And
that's the whole point.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so it's, diving into being in a very like depressed sort of
Dark hole.
traumatic state of mind, and doing that for days on end is just, it's exhausting, and
Yeah.
that kind of thing is challenging to me. What I would really love to play is like a really badass action character, and just to be able to show off kind of that realm of skills, because
Yeah.
I get to kind of have one or two, in each one of my movies. But like, I would love to just do something that it's like real like fantasy action, superhero sort of a situation.
Yes.
And so I do have a movie that, well, it's actually, it's a series. We're going to do the pilot soon. It has no working title and I can't say too much about it, but I have
Oh,
a role that I I do kind of have superpowers, but she's like this hick. And she works on cars and she does all this stuff, and she shoots, and I have my like bow as one of my, like, bow and arrow as one of my tools that I get to use.
beautiful.
And it will be exciting to develop that. So I'm hoping that I
Yeah.
get to do more of what I'm thinking about doing, which is exciting. But, within the last little bit, or within the last month, I signed with a manager down in LA. And then I just last week signed with an agent, and they're already getting me auditions and they're already sending me stuff and they're excited about it.
That's so
And,
cool.
and
Congrats.
that it's, I'm very grateful to, to both of them. And
Yeah.
I can't wait to, be able to show people, hey, I'm making it, I'm doing this, and in a bigger capacity than I am.
Yeah. Well, there's no small or big parts, right? Only small or
No.
big actors, as they say. So
Yeah.
you it's just a matter of time. That's all a matter of time. And thankfully, we're living in a day and age where you could say something on whether it's through social media or YouTube, which is almost like social media as it were, and somebody could see you and say, "Oh my God, that's the right person for the casting that we're looking for."
Yeah.
Hence what's happened to you. So it's interesting. Let's talk about the craft a little bit. Oh wow, it's 30. Yeah, it's crazy. Where did time go, right? Um, um, let's talk about the craft a little bit. Where did you study? Are you a trained actress, and or did you learn as you went? Like some people I know can go.
I've
Mhm. Go ahead.
Wendy Elaine Wright asked me the exact same question. She said, "What kind of training have you had, and who have you studied with?" And I said, "This is all me." And she said, "There are very few people that are like you, that have the emotional range that you do, and have had no formal studying." I just love it. But I do study all the time.
Right.
I don't think that people really like watching movies with me,
Mhm.
because I break it down in
Picking
such
apart
a way,
Mhm.
everything from the way someone walks in a room, and the choices that they make, and what they're looking at, why, or why it might drive them. They're, just kind of the backstory about what was their motivation to be where they're
Yeah.
at based on what's happened in the story, and how many things they do as that character. Even when, and this is one thing that I really watched for, is some of the big actors, when they break their character just for a moment and you can see it, and you can
Right.
see them think about it and then readjust quickly to go back into the character. Like, if you're
Wow.
really studying a film,
Good, Ellie.
you, you can
That's
watch
great.
those things. And I'm like, oh gosh, I wonder when I do that, or how many times. And then when I've rewatched myself, I'm like, dang it. I could have done that better, but
Right, right.
I would say you can act a lot. You can do a lot of things, but if you have really poor direction on a film that doesn't understand your character or you as an actor and moving through stuff, then they're just throwing words out to make themselves look or sound or feel fancy. you can see that in a film. You can see when there's bad direction, then you can see great direction. And I've had amazing directors. One of the best people I've ever worked with is Adam Rath. And someday everybody's going to know who he is as a director. He is fantastic. And he tailors his direction for each and every person, whether there's 3 people on set or 30. And he can just dive into each little person, and he knows the stories well. And I've gotten to work with him 3 different times, and he's amazing. And I hope to work with him again. And I can't wait to see the film that hopefully will be released later this year, Alien Storm. And I'm a lead actress in that.
Alien Storm is cool.
It's very cool. It's a horror film. It's got aliens in it and all kinds of stuff. So, and it was a lot of fun.
Let me ask you something. You mentioned, you pick apart scenes and actors, and you study them with the watchful eye, right? Zero in, as it were. Do you consider yourself like to be hard on yourself? Like, they say that sometimes we're our worst critics. Do you find that you could have done something better?
All the time.
Yeah.
Constantly. Even when I'm working up auditions and that kind of thing, if I'm saying it out loud and as many times as I can to just figure out how I want it to sound. And even looking back, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to retape it, but I could have done this again. And then especially when a movie comes out and I'm sitting there and I'm in the theater going, oh, why did I make that decision?
Right.
What was I thinking? But then I also have to think back to what direction was I being given? Was that me? Was that direction? Was I not in the right headspace? There's so many things that are going on all at once, where a lot of people think, oh, acting's just easy. You sit in front of the camera and you talk. It's like, have you seen people sit in front of a camera that don't realize to not pay attention to the camera, and they're like, and I've worked with people like that, and they're just that deer in the headlights, and you're like, see, it's not as easy as you think it is. You have to be able to be natural, and it has to come naturally.
Yeah, go ahead.
You have to be able to embody that. And
your look, just watching you as you're talking, I'm trying to listen and processing. You're also, you have a lot of charisma. You have what it takes to be on the screen. You own the screen. It's gravitating when you talk. It piques people's interest, and it's natural. So it's fantastic, and it's great that you're always constantly learning. And you're constantly polishing your skills. And I think what you said is very important, because it's also important to reflect on, let's say if you did something and what headspace you were in. That's very important. And then the direction. And if they say that if a script is written quite well, or it does its job, then it should be pretty easy for you to do your job, because it gives you everything that you need in the script. I mean, obviously, some of the acting I've done and training that I've received in the past, I learned that from reading it over and over. If it's really well done, such as the movies that we watch, sometimes they're Oscar worthy and have some that have amassed those Oscars. You watch them, you go back, oh my God, the script is super well written, and it almost gives you everything you need. Then your job is halfway done. You know what I mean? So let's talk real quick. What does the future hold for you? You say you're in the middle of a couple of projects down the pike. What about music? Are you going to be singing? And if you could, what genre would you sing?
Oh, for theater, I'd always sing just theater songs, that kind of thing, church songs. I love singing anything, honestly. And
anything by Dramarama?
Pardon?
Anything by Dramarama?
I don't know.
There's a song that anything. Remember that song? I'll give you anything you want.
Oh yeah.
So anything. So.
And no, I love just singing, like things that come on the radio and doing that.
Yeah.
It's or more or less my Spotify account where I'm like flipping through different songs, and it's anything from country to rock and roll to alternative sort of music, and I just do it, just belt it out. I would love someday to have a role where it focuses on me being a singer in it, which would be awesome. And I think that would be very cool. What I need to do is actually do a song, put it up on YouTube so that I can show that here's my skill, because I don't have anything. Everything's old. And so I'm
So
I
it
take
took
things
this
down though
show for
too.
you to do
Yes,
that.
on the list.
On the list. Note to self. No,
Yes.
it's really important what you just said. We have a palette of skills that you've garnered over the years and different things. And it's very important, highly important that you even like, you're in the car, maybe even you start bouncing out, a song comes on, whatever you name it. I don't know the song of the day these days, but you get into it, or it's rock. It doesn't matter. If people go into ACDC, or and you're like, oh man, and you see the range. The range is super important in an actress and an actor to know what you can do in all the different subtle kind of things that you can get into, so they know what you're capable of. So
Mhm.
yeah, so even if it's like a TikTok or something that we see, oh shoot, oh my god, did I hit like record? And it would be great to hear your voice. I think you're very astute. I think you're very obviously, clearly, you're very knowledgeable and smart, intelligent, and I see definitely your name up in a marquee
Same.
sometime soon. And keep at it, keep going where you're at. It's 45 minutes into our show. So I got another 50. You guys know it's winding down now. If you could give like any advice to your 15-year-old self, what would it be and why?
I just keep going. I even say this to everybody, but there are, a lot of things. Everybody regrets things that they did.
Yeah,
But for life experience, those things have given me the skill set to maybe feel emotions that people that I've worked with can't even pretend to emote. And you can tell when someone's like faking it. You can see when it's not there and it's not real. And so the things that have happened to me, all, both good and bad, for life experiences, I wish I could change some of them, but I would always say keep going. Don't let people tell you no. Because I was told
yeah,
no, I think, more than any person I've ever met in my life.
really.
And oh, absolutely. From you can't be an actress, you're not pretty enough to be a model, you can't sing, you can't do that, you can't go to school, you're not smart enough to do these things. You're too stupid, you're too fat, you're too thin, you're ugly. I have been told it
Mm,
all.
I didn't know that.
And
It's
I
crazy.
refuse to give up. I
Yeah,
refuse to listen to people. And I hope that some of those people can see me now because of, how much of a public figure that I am, just YouTube and actress and stuff, and go, wow, I cannot believe that this person came this far.
yeah.
And it's more of a
Uh-huh.
sort of a situation.
Suckers, you
Yeah,
see?
I got you.
Gotcha. Let me ask you something, because you and I have, it's crazy the parallels. I was bullied too growing up, and I grew up in LA, so it was crazy. And in East LA, so I'm from East LA, and it was wild growing up. I was around a lot of crime. It was a gang-ridden neighborhood, and my passion was always acting and reading books. So as a kid, I read a lot of books,
Mhm,
and I was told that. You can amount to anything. And then I went to college. I went to Cal State LA, got a degree in political science. Then
mhm,
I tried my hand at playing guitar. My dad's a musician, so I play guitar. I could actually play in front of the TikTok, and people say, "Oh my God," and showcase and not be afraid to show who I am. And then I did have many a times I did question, could I, like the imposter syndrome that can come upon us from time to time. It's
mhm,
natural. That's part of the scars you have to carry with you,
mhm,
and work through. That now you can't make it. You can't do this. You can't do that. And it was like kind of stumbling blocks in many ways, but you have to push through those, and it takes a little longer. And yeah,
mhm.
but at the end of the day, we do have the last laugh, right, Ali?
Yeah. I mean,
And
you
with
just you
that,
have to
guys,
have persistence.
and you bounce back. We bounce back, and you're doing great things, and you're a geologist, and a lot of people aren't. So I agree myself. So that's really, really commendable. Just hats off to Ali Ringo. Ali, what are your social media handles, and can we do part two of this?
Oh, absolutely. So anybody that wants to find me can find me at Elley Ringo or at Elley Knows Rocks, and all of that either across every social media.
Fantastic. You see it down below. You see it's going by like it's
That's right.
Surfing, it's surfing. No?
It's,
So
it's
this is great. Like time and time, it's getting in there. It's subliminal.
that's
Fine.
right.
I really want to thank you for everything, for this time, for your time, which is precious. And thank you. It's a real treat to have been able to learn from your journey. And thank you. Keep rocking. Keep
Thank you.
rocking. Keep rocking.
I
Yeah.
will try. Thank
Yeah.
you, Jim. I really appreciate being on the show. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I hope we did our job here as best as we possibly could.
Absolutely.
Okay, guys, that's my show, guys. Almost Famous Radio Podcast with Jim Francis. Thank you very much. Stick around. Ellie, I would ask you something, Ellie.
Okay.